takes, and the expectations of Nigeria are quite rife. So we will be looking at that as our first talking point, and delightfully we will be having someone who is an expert in conversations on election observation, election monitoring, and widely respected for being a political analyst. Austin Aibo is joining us this morning. Austin, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good morning. Welcome to Kakaki.
I'm so excited seeing you on this side now. No more socials.
Oh, socials are there, of course. All right, let's start. The new INEC boss has assumed office yesterday after his swearing in. His first task, according to Mr. President, is to make sure that he restores integrity, dignity to electoral processes in Nigeria. And on his part, he has said that every vote will count under my watch. How do you react to the promises and the tasks before him?
Well, thank you very much. Again, good morning, Nigerians. I think it's important to actually look at it from the nexus of the president. Is it command? Restore confidence in the electoral process. Meanwhile, everyone knows that the only one who can undermine the electoral process is those who appointed this same individual. So if the president is giving that command, say, go ahead, I am giving you this command, restore confidence. It means that there will be no interference. It means that the presidency, the presidential kitchen cabinet, all of those things that have to do with the ruling party will truly let INEC run as an independent agency. It means that there will be no call, there will be no unnecessary DSS control, as we have seen previously. So that's important. But coming on to what Professor Joash has said, it's accepting that command, that indeed Nigeria needs integrity. And if you listen to what the Vice Chancellor of University of Jos said, that he knows this man is a man of integrity and is very good and all of that. So we now need to test it. And they said Anambra is a test case. But I want to be very conscious of using the word Anambra as a test case because of other dynamics.
Like?
A lot of it. Because don't forget, the time Anambra election was announced was a year ago. The primaries was held about 6 months ago. Campaign started about 3 months ago. So everything that has to do with Anambra has been laid out. Unless it takes certain important decisions, which if at the time we'll propose it, but if it takes it, it may truly use it as a test case. Otherwise, everything about that election is just November 8th for the election.
All right, Austin, a lot of people would agree with you. Others would also be very, perhaps enthusiastic about looking first at the electoral reforms. Because the outgoing chairman did say that regardless of all of the conversation on due process and electoral priority, that the electoral reform is the only way that Nigeria will get it right ahead of the 27 election.
I agree with electoral reform, but until people reform, electoral reform will just be the normal gimmicks. The same thing we said ahead of 2022 reform. We thought that the 2022 electoral reform was going to be the silver lining. In fact, even though there were certain things we said, well, this didn't happen, but just sign it and let's move on. But after the election, what did we see? That everything that has to do with INEC rules were literally nonsensical in the eyes of the law. What came as the greatest integrity in the electoral process was the introduction of technology. Even though the law still said that the manual accreditation process will continue, the manual collation process will continue, but the only thing that would have enhanced that manual collation would have been that transmission. I mean, let me take the word transmission back because I know that the word transmission is very strong. Upload of from EC8A on the portal so that Nigerians can see. But beyond that, it's good that there's an electoral reform now that talked about transmission. And the proposal is that results from polling units shall be transmitted to the next level of collation. That did not talk about IREF. During the public hearing, I had raised that very strong view with the committee members to say, you don't transmit to the next level. Transmit to Nigerians to see. Nigerians need to see their polling unit result so that they are confident that it matches the result they saw at the polling unit. If you transmit it electronically and hard copy wise to the next level, which means what you are already doing is that you are moving from polling unit to the word collation. The word collation is good. I mean, it's good. But Nigerians need to see that transmission to the next level so that we can quickly do the needful. You know, Nigerians have a way of adding numbers together very quickly. It's very easy. I love Nigerians. I'm proud to be a Nigerian. You know, when you just say 2,000 this, 3,000 this, Nigerians say that's 5,000. We are quick to quickly add up. That is the only way or the best way to enhance integrity, to enhance confidence in the electoral process. Otherwise, Nigerians need to follow the results. You know, you have to follow it. That my polling unit result, party A had 5, party B had 7. And by the time you see it uploaded, you are seeing that party A has the same number that you have, party B. Then that confident. Whoever emerges at the end, because Nigerians will do the interpolation. I'm just saying Nigerians. That is actually the role of political parties anyway, or electoral observers and all that. Nigerians will do the computation. Whoever is announced, Nigerians will already have an idea that this is where the pattern is going. If that person is eventually returned elected, you will see that they could be calm. But when you break that transmission of confidence, that's the challenge. And that's what I think the new INEC chairman is faced with. He's faced with ensuring that, as of course, Professor Amupitan has told him that you have an enormous task. However, there's a foundation already. Just build on it. Don't scatter the foundation. Don't break it down because there's no, you can't say because the foundation is 40, you break it down. No, there are very useful information at the foundation. Just build on it. What do you need to build on it? Create a level wherein political party trust you as a chair of INEC. That's key. 2, people, that's
all
citizens.
Political parties.
All political parties. I mean, as I say, political parties. All political parties need to trust the commission.
Is that even possible?
It is possible. When you say yes, let your yes be yes. When you say we are moving to Anambra on the 7th, be there by 7th. When you say that this is what will happen if any challenge of report comes up, we know that INEC has a 7 days window to correct any malfeasance in the election declaration. When there's a report, don't go ahead like we saw in Kogi. There were results written, seen. Results written, evidence. INEC went ahead to declare while you are investigating. Suspend that declaration. Do an investigation that is open. You create confidence. Parties begin to see you as the right man. However, we saw that happen in Osun and Ekiti election ahead of the 2023 election. So there was an INEC chairman who created very interesting pathway, and there was a high level of confidence. But by the 2023 elections, all the conversation that went in there almost was dashed. And that's why you see many reports of citizens who have dashed, even though certain people will still not agree that who are these people. I mean, I've often said, go on the street and take that survey. Don't ask us who are a bit elite in terms of this information-wise. Go on the street, go to the market. Go and ask people in the market in Lagos, in Kano. Go and ask those people.
The reviewers that, you know, I mean, we listen to our reviewers, and they also affirm that the burden of proof and evidence should be left at the doorstep of INEC, and that was also laid down in the parliament a few days ago. Do you agree with that, listening to what you're saying in terms of the review from the past elections? They also, you know, talked about the Edo State election, and now when I hear the litmus test at the doorstep of Anambra State elections, isn't it something that perhaps may be a way in to be able to review?
So even if you review this, Anambra will not be used for it because they have to be signed into law. However, we have often talked about that burden of proof long ago. If I tell you what political opponents face to get materials from the election, it's like from here to heaven.
And it is expensive.
The money is, I mean, they could pay for it. I mean, it's not the money. I'm looking at the struggle to get it. Number one, the technicalities. I like that, you know, lawyers use those words to undermine certain processes. First, you have to apply. And once elections are over, all those materials are taken to Abuja. Meanwhile, you have to apply at the state level. You have to apply to a REC. So the disconnect between SCT and the REC. So materials have been moved out, which is the rule. You move those materials out for safety and otherwise. Now you need to make photocopies of the certified true copy. So you have to make photocopy, and then stamps it and put the CTC so that what you are presenting is a fact. They pay, I mean, like I said, I don't want to use the money part of it. To get the individual to make that photocopy is going to make that photocopy close to the time where you need to file. And you have a threshold of filing. And sometimes before you file, you're going to see political miscreant at the court area trying to deprive you from submitting a proposal. So it's an issue of concern. And if you misses that time to submit, there's no more case. And the lawyers will just hide of time. My lord, the time for submission, it came late. And because of that, all the good that you wanted to prove it will become a sham.
So this thing you're saying is quite nostalgic, because I remember going to tribunal after my election, and this delay tactics was also one of the things that we saw. So on whose table does this bulk stop? Is it the INEC officers, or is it both the INEC officers or the people who are within the legal framework?
Okay, so on the framework, it's easy. You see, let's just look at what Anambra will present. Now, we have seen in Anambra certain vote buying, and INEC said they will stop vote buying.
Okay.
And for me, I imagine how INEC will stop vote buying, because we have tried to do that in the Anambra election. No, in Anambra election of 2021, where INEC tried to change the layout at the polling unit to avoid what we saw in Edo of 2016. Ondo of 2016 of the see and buy model. Before, you don't need to see and buy, you just vote, then you say you voted for the party, then you are paid. But parties began to see that voters were deceiving them, so they said they want to see. So when you vote, you show the ballot, a party agent sees it, and then you are given a tally, then you move from one location to the other. An attempt to stop that was to stop that showing of the ballot. So you change the layout of the polling unit. That reduced vote buying to a certain degree. But beyond that, we are now also beginning to see that some candidates in Anambra are beginning to promise communities certain money if they win their area. So that's an advanced vote buying. Very remarkable one at that. So we are not coming to the polling unit. Show that we want your community, you will get XYZ amount of money. So the community will now need to do everything to make sure that this candidate wins in that election. How will INEC stop that? It's a community effort. We have seen previously that communities used to go around house to house trying to force people to vote for a particular party. If you don't do that, they'll tell you, say, don't come to the polling unit if you are not going to do this. We saw that in Osun election of 2018, where community had their area. So they actually brought people to police the polling unit in a way that they identify, no, this one is not going to vote for this party. So that fellow never have access to the polling unit. We may see that in Anambra.
And just the general elections of 2023, you saw
in Lagos.
Yes, in Lagos, where parties and people were threatened, if you're not voting for the All Progressives Congress, stay in your father's house. Well, he was invited and he says, oh, I was joking about it,
after the election. He was invited after the election. Maybe they moved polling unit from certain area to an area where it is easy to implement that policy. So still on Anambra,
I was going to ask you, because, well, he's just taking office, that's Professor Amupitan, but we cannot excuse him from the would-be shame or would-be glory from that election. And I would always refer to the most famous quote on leadership by John Maxwell, that everything rises and falls on leadership. So whatever happens in Anambra State is not going to be because, oh, he's just coming into office. He would take the blame or take the praise that will come from it. So what would you say that in the remaining 15 days or so, 2 weeks to go for the elections, what would you say he should prioritize now, basically because he's just even assuming office?
Okay, so you just talked about Maxwell's philosophy. You know, he talked about leadership. He didn't talk about leadership position. But there are two different things. Now he's holding a leadership position. So we are going to look at him as a leader. So not necessarily the position, because there are things that in that position he may not be able to do. There are political barriers, there are certain technical barriers. There are barriers from staffers. Don't think that every staff will like him. I mean, they will welcome him now. They want to know the way he will move, whether to align or not to align. This happens everywhere. Don't forget, these are civil servants. I mean, I keep that in the parking lot. For me, for Anambra, it needs to put a face there. It cannot take glory for what that your INEC chair. Don't forget also that INEC chair really does not have a hand in the state elections. It don't. His role is to announce national election. Yes, it's the INEC chair. It takes the blame. It takes the glory. Yes, but the onus lies first on the national commissioners who are in charge of those regions. They will have to go there, do all the things. Even though INEC chair, I don't know if he will continue with the pattern of stakeholders meeting. Okay. You know, you go ahead of the election to hold stakeholders meeting, which Yakubu did. I don't know if he will continue. That's his own leadership now coming on. I will expect him first. You see, if the scope has not been appointed, the scope means the state returning officer. In case he wants to use that route, get the state scope. That's the scope. Get an independent individual, if possible. Use a balloting process to appoint somebody. I'm using the word ballot. It takes away anything that looks like bias. So, for instance, get names on the table, put them in a ballot, and let pick. Roll the stuff. Whoever picks, become the individual. However, you can say he can get names of 50 people, put it there, and let Nigerians see it. In fact, do it in the presence of political parties. That we are appointing this scope for Anambra election. We have this suggested name.
And all the 50 have to be qualified.
No, I mean, qualification for scope, even though they now use professor. Who told you it's professor that can do the job? I mean, see.
And you know that's another argument, basically.
Competence.
Yeah.
Technical competence. In my argument about who become an
project
INEC
managers.
Chairman, yeah, project manager. In my analysis about who become an INEC chair, I never at any time talked about being professor. I talked about competence, capability, and capacity. What that means is that you need to have knowledge of the electoral system. You need to have participated in a way in our Nigeria elections. Because taking a novice there will require him about a year or two to learn. We don't want that for an election that is 2 years from now. You need someone. That's why being a senior advocate of Nigeria, maybe not as a professor, gives him an edge because he would have studied the electoral law. That's one. For scope, do a balloting system in the presence of political parties in Anambra. Pick somebody and appoint the person. That person becomes like coming from a process. You see, for me, I know this is because I've argued this elsewhere, that election rigging process does not even need the state resident electoral commissioner. It needs the EOs to coordinate affairs. So if that fallacy is true, I want to call it fallacy because I don't want to say it's true. If indeed it's close to being true, all of the EOs in the 21 local government of Anambra, rotate them immediately. Get them, in case one has been mapped to do a certain job, distort the process. Take them out of that process. Take them out. What you can then do is, beyond that, is also do it, let the parties know what you are doing. For me, the resident electoral commissioner, I know people will argue that you are removing it to bring somebody else and all of that. I think the REC need to actually be moved to another state.
Absolutely, and that's what someone is actually saying on our YouTube page, you know, one of the participants. And he also said, maybe ask a guest, rigging starts at these collation centers. They should be abolished or perhaps improved monitoring. How do you look at this?
So collation, that's why we need to bring the integrity before the collation center. So while we're talking about INEC as an IRF, Professor Joash needs to tell us, tell Nigerians. When I say us, we are all Nigerians, even though we are not voting in Anambra. Tell us that IRF will be used.
Or not.
Or not, exactly. Or not. I like that. Tell us, in Anambra election, we will not use the IRF. Or we will use the IRF so that can be a categorical statement. Even though INEC has always told us the IRF will be used. If that is going to be used, then you ensure that I would also advise him to be in a hurry to tell us. He just resumed yesterday. 1 week time, focus on what will be integrity. Because I like when certain newspapers have talked about safeguarding the electoral integrity. That's part of it. Tell us that what you have seen with the IRF, we are not very sure to use it. However, we will go back to the rule of pasting from EC 60E at the polling unit. Then, even though I won't support that because we have moved beyond that, because if he says the IRF will not be used, that's the beginning of his failure anyway. He needs to use it. Then, once that is done, you create a sense of asking Nigerians to say, well, you know what? In this Anambra election, You are the one to determine the winner. However, allow INEC to announce the result. I mean, it's the law. The law says INEC should announce the result. Citizens have no right to announce result. But citizens will know by that computation. I just want him to understand that citizens can truly support him. One, the REC. Push him to Enugu and bring maybe the guy in Enugu. I don't know. I'm just suggesting. I'm not saying it should be Enugu because there are 5 states in the southeast. Get them out so that in case there's any conversation, you stop it. You are new. Get a new face in. Change the dynamics. In case there be conversation in the last 1 year, change the dynamics. Anyone, in fact, those RO, the returning officers, give them strong warnings of the implication of a jail if they mistakenly are found guilty, unless they report that whatever result they declare was under duress. Don't forget the case in Akwa Ibom and in Imo. Certain individuals reported that they had to declare result under duress. Others did not. So that's why today Adamawa, the REC of that Adamawa that announced the result, is still running. I don't know if it's been arrested or already been tried. Found, yeah. So these are the case. Put your best 11. But above all, too, I mean, not above all, one of the suggestions, too, is that Prof has a lot of friends. It's at this time he need to select his friends. At this time. I have some folks who were appointed to INEC as REC and all of that. Their behaviors changed, and I was so happy. So conversation ended.
They filtered away.
They filtered it all. You know, that's why for me, looking at technical advisors, I know that Professor Joash knows Professor Sam Amadi because they both taught at University of Jos. The new INEC chairman is in law. Professor Sam Egu was in political science. Professor Sam has huge knowledge. It could pull him out from REC and make him a technical advisor. I know of another, someone like Obo Ifanga. These are REC that we know. Mike Igini, even though he's no longer in the commission, get those technical hands, bring them in and technical aid, and let each one check each one. You know, having just one technical advisor or two without checking. So before any product is given to you, you want to see the argument from these three. So that, you know, that's how the U.S. model works.
You know, what you're saying perhaps maybe affirms to what Professor Chidiodin Kali said yesterday. And he said there are principalities in INEC and there needs to be a total overhaul for INEC to work. Someone here also said every Nigerian leader, head, top chairperson or politician always has noble intentions until they get to office. And once they get there, they usually turn the opposite of their values, principles, and morals. So they should be careful.
That's why I use the word there's a difference between the leadership position and the leadership, which is the person, the leader. I think that he needs to understand. And he used the word, I like that word. He said, my coming here is divine. And as someone who believes in those divine nature, divinity, as it were, even though I don't know the kind of divinity, but I know that God is the supreme, all divine God. You know, let me assume that it's followed the path of being divine and using God. God means, whether you call him Allah or in English or whatever name you want to call it, is God, the supreme God. If he uses that, then first, there are some binding he needs to do. Well, that's an aside. But there are some very strong decisions you need to make. And one of them is sitting and not talking and hearing people talk. There are, in fact, between yesterday, today, and this weekend, there are all manner of things that will be coming to his office. All manner. Including some bags that will be coming to say, you are welcome, you are very welcome. Those are the principalities.
We are loyal.
We are very loyal. Those are the principalities. They don't have to look like a devil. But the actions, the way they speak, though the people don't accept anything that look like courtesy visit. What kind of courtesy visit are you coming for? Your university, now this is a different ballgame. Your VC came during your induction. Fantastic. That's solidarity. The end point into the curtain has to be drawn. You can seek advice from the VC. I don't have a problem with it. You can seek advice from people in your faculty that you know. I mean, as a professor, it belongs to the academics. As a senior advocate of Nigeria, it belongs to, is it the bench now? Very key category of people. So there are people you need to bring in from the bench. I don't want to use the word table. Bring them from the bench and bring those from the academics. Bring them to the table. In fact, let them even argue out. Because you know the challenge. It is the academics that arguably goes to manipulate results on behalf of political actors. Because these are the professors. I'm not accusing academics. I'm not accusing ASU. I'm actually saying that what Jega taught has not materialized. By bringing these very senior colleagues in the university to begin to be the one to announce results so that the process can be a bit fair. But we have seen Akwa Ibom has told us a good one. Akwa Ibom State, which is whether it's one or two is immaterial. One has happened, then that's not. So the academics and the senior advocates who defend what has happened from the election, bring them together so you are in between. And I like his I actually like his title, Academics and Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
But let's look at, in all of these, if all these alignments are put in place, you know, the redeployment and reposting and all of that, how do we assure voters that your vote will indeed matter under this new leadership of INEC? Because we have to restore their confidence. What do we do about that?
Trust building is a task that, as a person from the civil society, we have always known that in any conflict environment, first of all, is to build trust. So the truth of the matter is that Professor Joash has a new face. He can actually go to Anambra and say, give me the opportunity. I am a professor of repute. I am a senior advocate of Nigeria. I know the law. Beyond knowing the law, I also know the books. Based on this, I am a Nigerian who has been in this country, who have observed, who have seen election since 1999. I mean, it's a confident building at this time. Give me the opportunity. However, when you have suggestions, do it in this manner. I like criticism, but give me the solution.
Okay.
Because most of the time, I hate when people criticize everything.
Right.
As we have done now, we have talked about Anambra election, and we have proposed some very good steps you can take to ensure integrity of poll in Anambra.
All right. Mr. Austin, we'd like to thank you so much, and thank you for your insights and recommendations. I hope that we run with that collectively. Everyone, we've been discussing what Nigerians expect from the new INEC chair, the person of Professor Joash Amupitan, and we've had advocacy officer and ECOWAS liaison lead for West African Democracy Solidarity Network, Wademos, Austin Aigbe. So from here, we'll take a break, and you know what I'm